Many women come to us because they've been victimized, some domestic violence, some sexual violence, some dealing with issues that they haven't faced for 40 years, and all of a sudden it's coming to the forefront because they have a daughter or they've hit something in their life that's triggered the childhood abuse that they had. And they come in sometimes with not even that being mentioned. I remember a woman who came and came to counseling for 10 sessions talking about her job. Her job was bothering her. And then at that 10th session, she said, oh, and by the way, I was sexually abused as a child, and I think I'm having a little problem with that. At which point the therapist said, well, I think we're going to need to extend the number of sessions. So they come to us from all walks of life, from all socioeconomic backgrounds, traumatized from the violence that's happened to them in their lives. One of the things with the rape recovery team that we've started, which I think is really important, is that continuum of service from the very young, age 12 and up, with sexual assault, and with elders. In the past, we've had a program, but we've just restarted this program that really focuses on working with elders and the importance of working with elders in terms of sexual assault. So many times there's a lot of misperceptions around elder abuse in terms of how it occurs and where it occurs and who causes it. And so education's a real important component with people who work with elders and where elders live. And also knowing how to recognize the signs of the abuse. So this program, the Stop Violence Against Elders program that we're doing now, we're partnering with Hubbard House and with Elder Care. And it's just going to be a fabulous program in the sense of getting in with the workers who work with elders and also with the elders themselves in terms of doing some educational programs. Sexual violence is out there. It's sad, and most of it caused by family members in the elder community, which is doubly sad. But if we don't at least try to respond to that issue, it's just going to continue because there are more and more people who are going to be elders very soon. And I think it's to all our benefit to really try and give some good focused attention on elder abuse. A lot of people are well trained in terms of what they do in terms of their therapy, and they're good, and if they've had experience, they've probably picked up on some of the standards in terms of working with gender specific. But a lot of people are not, and a lot of people think that you can just open a program for women and it's kind of modeled after a male model. A lot of the research is done on males. I think what's really important is if you're going to be a center and you're going to treat women, that you make sure that you understand how gender impacts lives, because it's very difficult. So many times post-traumatic stress disorder is misdiagnosed in women all the time because it's viewed as some sort of anxiety, or she's over-worrying, or she's, there's a lot of misdiagnosis that goes on with women in women's lives. You have to understand women's lives. You have to understand what impacts them. You have to understand how society treats them. You have to really know those things about women in order to really be successful, I think, in treating them. Well, I'd like to start with some of the root causes. I'd like to start with some of the discrimination issues that exist. I'd like to start with some of the socialization issues that we deal with in terms of how men and women are treated differently. I'd like to get to some of those root causes, some of the violence. I mean, if you think about sexual assault in the sense that over 90% of the perpetrators are male and over 90% of the victims are female, if you had another class or race that was happening to in that proportion, you'd just be, you'd be outraged. I mean, how can this happen? How can this type of violence happen to this race of people, or this, in this case, in this sex of a person? So I'd like to start with some of the root causes, and I'd like to see some of those change. I'd like media to treat women differently in terms of how they're portrayed. You have to understand it. You have to understand women's lives and all that impacts them.